Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AMCHAM's second installment of our bi-monthly ESG Talk Series. I'm Eunha Claire Kim, Director of Government and Corporate Affairs at AMCHAM, and I'm very happy to kick off today's webinar. AMCHAM's ESG Committee was launched in March 2021 with a goal to promote ESG best practices between the US and Korea. Driven by our committee co-chair's passion and leadership, the ESG Committee has been spearheading the effort to advance important ESG-related dialogues within the AMCHAM community and beyond. This morning, P&G will share its journey and best practices in reducing collective greenhouse gas emissions through their science-based life cycle assessment, the E aspect of ESG. In terms of housekeeping, Cheeyoung Lee, CEO of P&G Korea and our ESG Committee co-chair, will introduce today's speaker, Hyeonsuk Lee, Chief Communications Officer and Sustainability Leader at P&G Korea. And then Daisy will give a presentation for about 30 minutes. Following Daisy's presentation, we will have an audience Q&A, so please feel free to submit your questions by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Now, Cheeyoung, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, AMCHAM, for the opportunity. Once again, everyone, welcome to ESG Talk Series. I believe ESG is an important topic for all companies, and every company is striving to make progress in this broad space. P&G is no exception. We've been in this journey, and it took us a while for us to define where we want to go. At P&G, ESG is not considered to be an independent activity. Rather, it's an integrated pillar for our corporate citizenship effort, built on the foundational belief and what we call force for growth, force for good. P&G believes in our commitment and ability to be responsible and good for environment, social, and governance will be returned with strengthened business growth, and that sits at the core of our activities. Within this framework, I'm particularly proud of P&G's ongoing effort on equality and inclusion. In 2022, P&G Korea achieved 50-50 equal gender representations in leadership position between men and women, and it's a huge progress we have made. In addition, we continue to practice our governance behind P&G's unique culture. Internally, we call it PVP. It stands for Purpose, Value, and Principle. It is a list of values and principles that endure through 180 years of P&G's history and pave the foundation of how we do business every day. Simply put, it is all about P&G's commitment on doing the right thing. Now, coming to the main topic of the day, I will turn over to Hyeonsuk Lee, our Chief Communication Officer and also Sustainability Leader for P&G Korea. She'll be sharing P&G's vision and our journey on environmental sustainability, and I hope you get to discover how P&G aims to be force for good and force for growth. Over to you, Daisy.
Thank you very much, Cheeyoung. Good morning, everyone. Sustainability Leader for Korea P&G. Can you see my screen? Okay, good. So P&G is the world's largest consumer goods company and home to iconic and trusted brands like Downy, Gillette, Pampers, and Head & Shoulders. With the 65 brands, we reach about 5 billion consumers worldwide. The majority of consumers globally now want brand they buy to help them live a more environmentally conscious lifestyle. For next 30 minutes, I'm going to introduce P&G's vision and approaches to sustainability, especially focusing on climate and science-based life cycle assessment, so that we can partner to tackle the climate crisis together. Let me introduce our unique approach behind sustainability.
At P&G, our success is defined by the and. Nearly 2 centuries ago, William Procter and James Gamble came together to serve people with products of superior quality and value. Their mission defines our purpose today, to improve lives now and for generations to come. The power of P&G's purpose is unwavering in the company's long heritage of growth. We make people's everyday lives a little better. While our commitment to better has never changed, the standard we need to deliver on has. For more and more consumers, better for them without better for the planet is no longer better. We share that conviction. Improving lives now and for generations to come means providing irresistible superiority that is sustainable. We are setting a new standard of superiority, one where consumers' sustainability expectations are considered from the very start of the innovation journey and embedded across all vectors of superiority. This is our opportunity to be best at both: innovation that solves everyday problems and improves lives for generations to come, now. P&G's Ambition 2030 supports our brand's ability to provide irresistible superiority that is sustainable. It is built on the strength of 4 science-based pillars: climate, waste, water, and nature, where we can make the biggest difference for the planet and our business. At its foundation is improving the livelihoods of people across our operations, supply chain, and the communities we serve. Our future begins with the and, growth and good. Better for them and for planet, our brands and the people we serve. Together in partnership, we can build a better future for all. After all, it's our home, and our window is now.
As shared in this short video, P&G's Ambition 2030 supports our brand's ability to provide the irresistible superiority that is sustainable. It is built on the strength of 4 science-based pillars: climate, waste, water, and nature, where we can make the biggest difference for the planet and our business. At its foundation is improving the livelihood across our operation, supply chain, and the communities we serve. I will go through the strategy behind each of those 4 pillars. First, climate. The climate crisis affects every home and family everywhere in the world, and the latest science has made it clear that decisive action must be taken to avoid the most significant impacts of the climate change. This picture shows the vicious cycle of climate crisis. From the bottom left, increased CO2 levels is rising temperatures on Earth, and it causes extreme weather and rises sea level. Even if we don't refer to this, we already have experienced extreme weather this year in many parts of the world. Flash flooding hit Seoul in August. It was the heaviest rainstorm in 80 years. And the record-breaking rain in July-August in Pakistan affected more than 30 billion people. And summer heat waves in Western Europe caused more than 20,000 of excessive deaths. So 2020 is the 8th warmest years on the record. To avoid this dangerous climate change, 196 parties signed on Paris Agreement in 2015. Its goal is to limit global warming well below 2 and preferable to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial level. To achieve this, greenhouse gas emissions need to be net zero by the end of the century. Our biggest ambition here is our acceleration to net zero greenhouse gas emission across our operation and supply chain by 2040. And here how we are planning to do this. I think most of you are familiar with this scope 1 to 3. If you look at the greenhouse gas emission, there is 3 distinctive groups that you might recognize. The first, what is usually called scope 1 and 2, what we control and directly link to the product manufacturing. In the middle, scope 3 upstream, what we contribute, the purchased goods and services. And finally, scope 3 downstream, which basically correspond to what we can influence only. So on the group 1, everything we control, we are first reducing by 50% by 2030 and balance the rest via natural climate solutions. In the next decades, we will work against a plan to reach net zero by 2040, which basically means an emission reduction by more than 90%. On the second group, which we can contribute, we are reducing by 40% supply chain impact per unit and 50% transport efficiency as a step toward our net zero journey. The last group, scope 3 downstream, it remains the biggest contributor to our global emission. And this is where our brands come into play, especially the ones where biggest impact of the life cycle analysis occurs at home. P&G's science-based approach to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emission will prioritize cutting most of our emissions across our operations and supply chain from raw material to retailer distribution. For residual emissions that cannot be eliminated, we'll use natural or technical solutions that remove and store carbon. Our net zero target, we need to differentiate within 3 scopes emissions. The use of sold products at home and waste disposal are not included in our net zero 2040 target, but we are still working on them as part of our overarching climate transition plan. We'll try to influence consumers' habit while using our products, for instance, by educating them to wash at low temperature, which again will reduce carbon emission. Now you're probably asking yourself, how much of the scope 3 emissions are part of climate transition plan? So before I answer to the question, let me explain one important concept, which when it comes to product, people tend to focus on plastic recycle because plastic is derived from fossil fuels like oil, natural gas, and the process from the manufacturing to disposal, it emits greenhouse gas. Then does only plastic occur greenhouse gas emission? The answer is no, you know well. Environmental impacts associated with all the stages of life cycle of the products, from raw material extraction, processing, through the product's manufacture, distribution, and use, to the recycling or final disposal of the materials. Life cycle assessment is a process to quantify the potential environmental impact associated with all the stages of a product from raw materials to disposal. Life cycle assessment takes on more impact categories into account, such as land use, water use, or anticipation. This graphic shows major categories of greenhouse gas emission for P&G at the different life stages of the product. What we can control and contribute takes about 12%. And definitely we will continue to improve. We purchase 98% of energy from renewable electricity in global operation and committed 100% by 2030. And we achieved zero manufacturing waste to landfill at 100% of our manufacturing site in 2020. However, as you can see, still consumer use is the biggest with 83%. This is where our brands and our partnership with consumers, retailers, NGOs, and government comes to play. Let's watch this video.
Can small changes in the home really impact the planet? National Geographic and Ariel are in Greenland, where researchers witness the impacts of CO2 emissions every day.
Microorganisms are important because they are so abundant.
The extent of the sea ice is really important for these small communities, and that is the basis of the food chain. So it's so important to whales, to humans, to all life. When you're here, it's really becoming apparent and real that the climate is changing.
Moving here, we realized that our daily habits actually affected climate. Temperature really makes a big difference.
In laundry, up to 60% of the carbon footprint comes from heating the water. That's why Ariel is designed to work at colder temperatures. Act now. Join the Ariel Wash Cold Challenge.
Okay, and here's another video.
How did a detergent brand get America to save over 1 billion kilograms of CO2? The equivalent of removing 400,000 cars off the road with the simple turn of a dial. Washing laundry in cold water uses 90% less energy. That's why Tide upgraded its formula to clean better in cold than any other detergent. Now, all we needed to do was to convince America to stop washing in hot. So we got 2 icons of cold to convince everyone.
This is a cold call.
On broadcast, they spread the message to every corner of pop culture.
This is Annie.
Mr. T here. Hello.
Vanilla ice, baby.
Will you turn to cold washing with Tide?
Word.
This helps the environment.
And saves you money.
Oh, the environment. Yeah, with the trees and the shrubs. How much money?
$100 a year on your energy bill.
Fine, I'll turn to cold.
Music, entertainment, sports, all united under one message. Hashtag turn to cold.
I pity the fool who don't turn to cold water washing with Tide. 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
Then we took cold washing to the biggest possible stage, the NFL.
That's 1 million pounds of laundry.
The NFL, you guys are filthy.
Exactly. That's why we convinced 15 NFL teams to wash their filthy uniforms in cold water, proving to their millions of fans that Tide cleans great in cold.
The Vikings are turning to cold with Tide.
I want to challenge you to do the same.
Didn't anyone tell you we wash on cold with Tide now?
The results? America answered the call. 39% lift in sales, 2 billion earned media impressions, but most importantly, 1.3 billion new loads washed in cold, saving energy for generations to come. Turn to cold with Tide.
Okay. So over the last decades, we've leveraged innovation and consumer education to reduce the largest portion of our carbon footprint, the energy needed to heat water during the product use. And Tide and Ariel continue to drive increased cold water washing through new education campaigns that will help avoid an additional 30 million tons of CO2 emissions by 2030, more than 10 times that of P&G's yearly global operations. Then how about Korea? Korean house is using the biggest washing machine in the world and the longest cycle for laundry using hot water. When I worked in Asia Fabric and Home Care for 10 years, I've visited many houses in Asia. For example, in Japan, the size of washer is 7 to 9 kg, which is similar to most of other countries in the world. And one cycle is composed of one-time rinsing and one-time washing. And the default is cold water. And interestingly, most of the houses use reuse the bathtub water. In Korea, minimum size of washer is 14 kg and up to 24 kg for house with parents and kids. And if I push standard course, it takes 45 minutes with one-time washing and 2 times rinsing using 40 Celsius hot water. However, 64% of Korean households add additional 1 or 2 more rinsing, which takes about 1 hour and 20 minutes to complete the entire course. Korean consumers are concerned about complete cleaning without soil and detergent residue. Considering all these facts of laundry habits and practices in Korea, I think Korea is tougher on environment than any other countries. And if we use Downy detergent in cold water in Korea, we can make a bigger impact to environmental sustainability. Likewise, hair care, the most impact to the environment comes when people shampoo in hot water. And P&G R&D is developing shampoo requires less water to rinse. And diaper is bulky, so it causes most of the impact during transportation. Innovation on compaction, which delivers a superior absorbency with less material usage, significantly helps. Now let's move on our waste pillar, which is the #1 consumer concern today and definitely a critical pillar of our strategy. Packaging plays an important role in delivering products to our consumers. Product protection and consumer safety, ease of use, and communications of safety and use information to consumers are just some of the critical functions packaging delivers. As we work to ensure our packaging delivers against key performance criteria, we also seek to deliver greater circularity of our packaging at the end of life. Plastic is one of the materials used in our packaging. Contrary to popular sentiment, plastic packaging offers meaningful benefits including product protections and enabling lighter weight packaging for reduced transportation impacts and requiring fewer materials. At the same time, we are also concerned that plastic packaging should not become waste in our environment. So first and foremost, our primary goal here is to reduce our footprint with a reduction of 50% virgin plastic by 2030. Now, plastic waste is a complex global challenge that requires a comprehensive, collaborative approaches across the entire life cycle. At P&G, we are reimagining the way we deliver the products people love in packaging through the following strategy. So reduce, innovating package that use less and delight more. And reuse, enabling consumer at home and beyond. And finally, recycle, with the objective of keeping waste out of nature. And allow me now to give you some examples on how this comes to life with our brands.
I'm Guillaume Lebert. I'm working in research and development for Procter & Gamble. In my role, I'm responsible for the sustainability strategy of our packaging. At P&G, we are using the life cycle assessment as a tool to understand the impact our product and packaging have to the environment. It's a great tool which is looking at cradle to grave. That way we can inform our strategy on packaging, on product, but also on usage. So we use science in order to understand the impact of our packaging to the environment. The best packaging is a packaging you don't use. So that's why we look at the 3R, reduce, reuse, and recycle to guide our strategy on packaging. In our Global Ambition 2030, we've made a commitment to reduce by 50% the use of virgin plastic in our packaging. But why are we using plastic? Let's not forget this is a great technology to protect and pack our product to make sure it's dispensed the best way for our consumers, and it's also a very lightweighted and efficient way to transport our product from one place to another with quite low CO2 emission. With the Ariel brand, we have taken our commitment and we've decided to reduce by 30% our use of plastic in Europe by 2025. One of the examples I can give you is that we have replaced this packaging by this one, which is 75% less plastic. So it represents 2,000 tons of plastic less per year in Europe, while we're still giving the same experience to consumers. We are also investigating options on the reuse. One of the pilots the Ariel brand has done with TerraCycle is named the Loop Project. This is a refill system very similar to the Milkman that you may remember from the past. With this system, we avoid that consumers have to come back to the supermarket with empty bottles that they refill themselves. And as well, from a company standpoint, we ensure the highest standard of safety for our product. From a life cycle assessment point of view, reduce is where we can have the biggest impact from a packaging sustainability standpoint. Still, recyclability is very important, and we are taking commitment as a company by 2030 to have all our packaging recyclable or reusable. With the Ariel brand in Europe, we're accelerating by making this commitment by 2022. Let me give you an example. You probably don't see the difference between those two packaging. Now, the one on the up is recyclable, the one on the bottom is not recyclable. The only difference is we've changed the material of the plastic packaging between those two ones, which is making this one recyclable. Now our commitment doesn't stop to making them recyclable, it's also to use recycled plastic in our packaging. And that's what we've done with our Ariel Liquid business. We've introduced 50% recycled plastic in all our bottles. This is our commitment to also drive circularity on all our packaging. One of the biggest issues we are facing is the availability of PCR, recycled plastic. Many companies like us are trying to put more recycled plastic in their packaging, which is obviously creating a bottleneck. One of the technologies which have been led by P&G and now is among many other companies as a consortium worked is named Holy Grail. Holy Grail aims to make the recycling and especially the sorting step of the recycling more efficient. What Holy Grail does is similar to a QR code. In this packaging, you don't see any difference. But when you will put it with your mobile phone, it will read it as a QR code. And this QR code is exactly working in your sorting facility to tell to the system, this is a packaging made of this material, so that packaging will be sorted efficiently. Another example I can give you is a technology that has been developed by one P&G scientist named PureCycle. One of the key constraints we have with recycled plastic is the color. You see, this is recycled plastic, a bit more grayish, while virgin plastic is really nice, whitish, transparent. And this is the quality we're looking at. Pure Cycle technology is a technology that enables to purify this recycled plastic and get virgin-like quality. The first plant will open in the Ohio in 2021, and that will supply a lot of PCR, virgin quality, to our different manufacturing sites. Going back to the life cycle assessment of the total laundry process, we realize that the biggest impact on the carbon footprint is not packaging, which is only 6% of this footprint, but the use phase, the temperature you and me are putting on the washing machine. Still, packaging is an important element. We take our responsibility, and we have those commitments on reduce, reuse, and recycle.
So as our scientists introduced, there are many different ways to reduce our dependence on virgin plastic using more PCR and changing to the paper package made of 90% recycled paper board, like you can see all the spice, and introduce new forms like a shampoo bar. We are also enabling consumers to reduce, reuse and recycle at home and across communities. One example is Oral-B Click, with a replaceable head. This manual toothbrush combines distinctive iconic design with superior performance. Behind this irresistible design hides 60% plastic use reduction. We set 2030 goals to offer 100% reusable and recyclable packaging. Today, 73% of our consumer packaging is recyclable or reusable. Our Pure Cycle technology process, which was developed by a P&G scientist, uses a non-toxic solvent to remove color, odor, and contaminants from polypropylene. By purifying polypropylene plastic waste and converting it into high-quality, ultra-pure cycled polypropylene, it expands the potential use and value of recycled materials. For some hard-to-recycle products, we have partnered with TerraCycle. TerraCycle helps collect waste that otherwise may not be recycled to ensure it returns to raw materials and helping to drive the circular economy. In Korea, we've been partnering with the TerraCycle to collect those items in more than 70 E-Mart stores for more than the last 3 years. And as briefly mentioned, we are working to create a more circular economy for plastic through Holy Grail. And plastic recycle rate is less than 20% in global. And this smart technology uses digital watermarks embedded in the packaging to improve waste sorting for more efficient recycling. And the latest information, P&G Ventures is an early-stage startup studio within P&G that partners with the entrepreneurs to accelerate billion-dollar ideas that improve consumers' lives. You can find the latest sustainable solutions, including Aeroflex, which is innovative packaging solution, in the website. You can just type the pgventurestudio.com and sustainability solutions. Okay. And also we are addressing gaps in waste management system via collaborating with external organizations such as Alliance to End Plastic Waste, the Recycling Partnership, and Circular Capital, where P&G is leading or founding member in each. And let's move on to the water. Water is essential for the use and the production of our product, and we are doing our part to protect this precious resource for people and nature by focusing on the areas where we can make a positive impact. In June 2022, P&G announced a strategy to help build a water-positive future that includes restoring water in 18 water-stressed areas around the world for people and nature. Our strategy to build a water-positive future is articulated around the 3 following pillars: reducing water in our operations, and restoring water in water-stressed areas for people and nature. And lastly, responding to water challenges through innovation and partnership, such as enabling our consumers to reduce their water footprint with products that help our consumers use less water at home. And at P&G, we are committed to keep forest as forest through our conserve, restore, protect, and grow approach. Forests are critical to supporting life on Earth, and protecting them is essential to the people and wildlife that call them home. To conserve forests, we are committed to zero deforestation in our supply chain. For every tree we use, at least one is regrown. We use 100% sustainably certified PERP in family care. And we are helping protect and restore nature through regenerative projects that touch 35 countries around the world. We are working with WWF to help restore 50 million hectares of Brazilian Atlantic forest, and with WWF Malaysia on tiger and landscape programs. We are helping grow new and certified sustainable forest land to promote the long-term health of the natural ecosystems that are essential to people, wildlife, and the planet. We are working directly with NGOs, suppliers, and governments to grow the amount of FSC certified forest land. Okay, to conclude, our mission is always being to make people's everyday life a little better. And we will leverage our innovation and consumer expertise to be a force for good and force for growth. And P&G and its brand will continue to provide the consumers with tools and information on how small actions at home can make a world of difference for the planet. Thank you. And now open up for the questions.
Daisy, there's one question. First question is, what is P&G's current progress of net zero 2040?
Thank you for the question. As I briefly mentioned, we are accelerating actions to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emission across all our operations and supply chain. If I pick a few things, starting from the maybe climate, from 2010 to 2021, we reduced energy usage at our facility by 21% per unit for production, and reduced the absolute scope 1 and 2 emissions across all our global operations by 56%. And we are nearing our 2030 goal of purchasing 100% renewable electricity and already purchasing 98% globally. And when it comes to the packaging, we set 2030 goal to offer 100% reusable or recyclable packaging, and we've already reached 73% now. And in water, we have increased water efficiency in our operation by 25% per unit of production versus 2010 baseline. And we source 3.1 billion liters of water from circular resources. And lastly, the forest part, if I pick up the 100% wood pulp and palm oils used in our brand are certified by leading third-party certification system like FSC.
Understand. Great. There is another question. Based on P&G's experience, what is the most effective way to ensure our sustainability initiatives trickle down to supply chain providers and our vendors as well?
Thank you for the question. I may not have the full answers to the question, but if I take the question, it's about our scope 3, the upstream part. So how to ensure the vendors and the suppliers be part of these sustainability initiatives. And the plan is already there. And we, if you remember the net zero 2040, that is covered by our the current plan. And we are going beyond on that. And how to ensure details, maybe I may not be able to give all the things, but one of the example is FSC. So when we source our purse for our family care, we are trying to get all the materials are the FSC certified. This is one way we ensure that try to expand our impact to sustainability throughout the supply chains.
Yeah. If I may build additional point on that, is we approach our supply providers and vendors with a long-term vision that as P&G's efforts to get to this net zero 2040 or ambition 2030, that becoming a partner in this journey would require them to invest in certain capabilities or certain capacity. But this will eventually give them bigger and long-term business as they partner with long-term. And I think that mutual partnership needs to happen as early as now. And I think a lot of it has already started. So hope that answered. Another great question, Daisy, especially more relevant in your capacity. From your point of view, are there any unique challenges, i.e. regulations or other technical difficulties implementing the global best practices in Korea?
Wow, it's a tough question and very good question. As we all know, that globally, every country is trying to accelerate this, and one of the policies and regulation is the way to drive this with the scale. But to be honest, also, it's quite challenging to have the common solutions across the countries. But as we know that Korea already declared the carbon neutral by 2050. And as if we look at the action plans in details, it is not much different. But for us, especially, it's not necessarily affects to P&G, but for most of the countries has an operation system in Korea. Maybe one of the difficulty would be having the renewable energy. So that would be something a bit difficult for technical, especially the technical part.
Okay, there's another question about TerraCycle. Yeah, I think there's a more interest about knowing what we have done with TerraCycle. What is our general TerraCycle strategy? You know a lot more examples around the world, but if you can just elaborate, what was the background of starting with TerraCycle? What was our key strategy, and what are some of the examples that can be further shared?
Thank you for the question. We have been partnering with TerraCycle in many parts of the world for many different the solutions and projects. So for example, we started the recycling program, which is difficult to recycle as a beginning, I think almost back to 10 years ago. Then we also evolved this loop. You just heard from the scientists, there is like a milk system. We basically have the refill system and bringing we give the product in the packages and we collect and refill that. And those systems are testing in many markets, including Paris, New York, Japan, and some other countries also. And there also during the Tokyo Olympics, definitely we in one of the symbolic program collected all those the product the materials. One of the iconic programs we did. But when it comes to Korea, maybe I can introduce this. We've been partnering with the TerraCycle and eMart to collect the package waste, which is difficult to recycle, like. Like a Fabrice bottle has a bit metal spring in the middle, or the Oral-B, the toothbrush is same as most of the toothbrush is it's difficult to recycle at this moment. So we made the collection system and bringing back to the raw material for the last 10 years, and we were one of the first to collaborate with TerraCycle. And we recently expanded this scope and beyond the stores. So we've launched the collecting plastic waste from beaches in Korea, partnering with Korea Ocean Environment Movement, which is government agency, and many leading companies from different industries, including POSCO and SSG.com and like that. So maybe this is one of the symbolic events, and we are going to have the annual reporting actual ceremony this week as well. So you can get more information out of that.
Okay, another question. What are you doing in Korea to raise awareness regarding hot water usage and using longer cycle?
Thank you for the question. This is really the passionate area I have. It's quite ambitious vision because it requires a lot of consumer education. So what we have been doing is we just started this last year, and I worked with the WWF and had the life cycle assessment, the like TED Talk type of the Panda Talk with the WWF, inviting some other opinion leaders from the fashion and the other industries. So first thing and most important thing is help consumers to understand the holistic assessment of the greenhouse gas emission and the holistic impact to the sustainability. Still in Korea, most of people, when it comes to the sustainability, people are just focusing on the plastic. But as we could see, plastic is one important, but it's just one part of that. And majority of the impacts are coming from the consumer use. So how we can change this mind and habit through our campaign education is most important. So we just kick off this campaign and start the education. And you will see more from our brand communication. So P&G company as well as our brand will hand in hand to bring more information and tools for consumers to understand the positive cycle of the using cold water to environment in short term.
I'm very excited that a lot of people are interested in this cold water, and there are more questions. What is the quality of wash with the cold water? Is it the same as one with the hot water?
Good question. I'm very proud of this because I've been half of my career in P&G is in FNHC, and I can proudly say that if you use Downy, and I have the demos and the technical data, and actually many of countries in Asia like Japan and Philippines and Singapore, we are driving one-time rinsing. It means even one-time washing and one-time rinsing, we can completely remove the soils and dirt from the garment, and there is no residue of the surfactant on the garment. So I can confidently say the quality of the outcome would not be different, but your perception is important.
Yes. So I think we are trying to build more awareness on this total life cycle assessment across all our categories. To Daisy's point, that plastic is not the only part of the total ecosystem. So I think there's one effort that we're putting in. The broad campaigns, like what you have seen on videos like Ariel and National Geography, we haven't done that level of campaign in Korea yet. It is one of our future plans, but it's going to be an important plan for us. As we do that, there are more efforts that we're putting in P&G, especially related to chemistry. To Daisy's point, consumers' perception that maybe laundry will not be as good if done in cold water, but it really relies on the chemistry to make sure you still get an equal effect or equal outcome of the laundry experience using cold water, and that resides in the chemistry, so that we can continue to reduce the number of cycles that consumers run, as well as the amount of water that it consumes, as well as the temperature it will has to be set. So it's kind of one of the big priority that we are putting within this cold water space. One more question, DZ. How do you ensure employee engagement and sustainability drive? Could you please share your experience and challenges getting internal mindsets aligned?
Good question. I believe this is, and all of your companies have already this type of the agenda and organizations. But in P&G, first, in globally, sustainability is the one topic. We need to ensure all employees are equipped with the right information and knowledges. So in Korea level, in local level, we formed the sustainability task force team. So we have a representative from each function across PS, marketing, sales, communications, and IT. So we first we try to build a basic knowledge about the sustainability. Once we digest, and then we try to we try to have brainstorming based on our landscape in Korea. What would be the best solution for Korean consumers, and develop the action plan based on that. So we have a regular connect with this task force team, and we also run the semi-annual, biannual the programs for the broad the organizations. And also in Asia, Middle East, and Africa level, we have an annual sustainability summit, which is sponsored by all the executive board in Asia, and inviting the stakeholders like WWF or UNEP, and we have the panel discussion dedicated for 2 days, and all employees participate there. And this is a great advocate how P&G take this sustainability important, and also get the more tough questions from the market, what we can do better and what we can advance better to make to acceleration on this area.
Are we implementing any ESG education program at school, such as elementary? If not, any plans?
It's not easy question to answer, because as you know well, the ESG is quite broad concept. So ESG is it represents the environment, social, and governance, but it can cover many different pillars of the citizenship. So in P&G, we call this a citizenship as overarching the umbrella for which covers ESG. So it's not that simple. So, and you know that there are more than 400 different types of the criteria and the definitions of ESG. So maybe we will continue our effort by under the umbrella of the citizenship, as we just explained. The environment sustainability is this way, and the social, we are continuously doing the focusing on the equality and inclusion, and likewise for governance. So at this moment we don't have a regular the training and education, but we used to do with ORB. We visited the primary schools and shared this environmental sustainability together with the TerraCycle. That was the programs we used to have. But at this moment, we don't have ongoing programs, but it is a good maybe idea. We can consider that into account. Thank you.
Okay. I will try to answer one or two questions, which is related to, is there plan for P&G to use bioplastics as source for its packaging, which is more decomposable and not just recyclable? The answer is we are actively looking into this space. However, the barrier or the challenge that we have is the scalability of the suppliers when it comes to sourcing a lot of volume of this biodegradable packaging that meets all P&G's businesses scale. I have been personally involved in some of these projects, and again, that was about 2 years back. This continues to be a challenge, and if there are much bigger scalable solutions that we can source from, I think there is a lot of interest for us to. And then, of course, as we get to a scale, there's also cost aspect of this bioplastics. But if the answer is there a plan that we're looking into? Yes, there is a plan, and we're actively looking for solutions. Last one, there's a supply chain related question, whether there's any highlights of what is our effort to eliminate gas emissions through our supply chain and logistics. The biggest highlight that I will make would be the efficiency for P&G, because we do deliver our products from, let's say, from the source to the port, given it's an import chain, at least for Korea. From port to distribution centers, from distribution centers to customers, fulfillment centers. These are all touch points where we need to move transportation. And the biggest area that we're focusing on is efficiency, and efficiency of using our trucks, efficiency of filling rates of the containers and the trucks that we fill, because you compare the efficiency between one full truck versus just 1/3 filled truck, it's an extra gas, gas emission for the same delivery distances that we serve. Therefore, the one word that I think we can highlight is really the efficiency of our logistics and supply chain. Okay, I think that covers majority of the questions, Claire. Over to you.
Thank you, Cheeyoung. Thank you, Daisy, also for sharing P&G's strategy to tackle climate change. It's really inspiring, actually, to see a very comprehensive approach that you're taking to achieve net zero through all the stages of the product cycles that you have, and especially for a company that's so deeply integrated into daily lives of our people. And I think very useful best practices and lessons learned. I'm definitely on team turn to cold myself. So again, thanks very much for sharing your insights. We will have a recording of today's webinar available via our YouTube channel for those of you who are online. And also our next ESG Talk Series will be hosted by 3M in February next year. And if you're interested in speaking at the future ESG Talk Series, please feel free to reach out to me or Cheeyoung as well. So I'd like to thank again for our speakers today, and also thank you all for joining us. I wish you safe and happy holidays.